Welcome to this week's Concurrency Beer 30. I'm Nathan Lesnowski, Concurrency Chief Technology Officer. I'm joined this week by a motley crew of professionals in the modern workplace arena, and we're going to have a great conversation today. So let's go around and introduce ourselves and tell me a little bit about the beer you're drinking too. Go ahead, Tom.
So Tom Driscoll, I'm our practice director for communications mobility. I got a Guinness this week with St. Patrick's Day coming up. So going with the theme of the week.
Chris Blackburn here, managing architect for our communications and mobility team here in Minneapolis, and going with the Blue Moon.
Brett Jansen, technical architect in Brookfield office, drinking Miller Lite today.
That's pretty appropriate for Milwaukee there, Brett.
All right. I'm Andrew Pedrea. I'm a systems engineer on the Commo Mobility team, and I am drinking one of my wife's Stella Toy ciders, which is not visible in the blurred camera.
Is that really a beer?
No.
Awesome. Well, I've got my favorite beer of all time, the Spotted Cow. Love the Spotted Cow. It's kind of a farmhouse ale, not very bitter. Great kind of easy drinking, but it's got a little bit of sweetness to it. And I've got a full fridge right over there, ready to go. It is probably one of the better places from a beer standpoint. You can only get it in Wisconsin. So for all of them Minnesotans out
here,
house
next time, Nate.
That's right. We have beer 30 there.
Beer.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about remote work. We are all somewhat into a forced remote working scenario with the current pandemic that's going on and all the stuff that's around us being able to have social distancing. But I think it's a little bit broader than that. You know, this isn't just a point in time situation. It's about a transformation of the workforce. So Chris, do you want to take a little bit and just talk about what is that transformation of the workforce? You know, how does this temporary situation, this virus that we're all trying to distance ourselves from, impacting ourselves to understand more about readiness for that remote workforce and preparedness around that space?
Well, I think, Nate, it talks a lot about the modern workplace, and this is something that Microsoft and Concurrency have really been talking about over the last couple of years in how do we prepare our work environment to where we can truly work from anywhere, not just when there is a situation that could be local or, in our case, in these days, somewhat global, and give us the ability to still perform our day-to-day tasks no matter where we are or what the situation is.
You know, is it just about working from home and, you know, executing on tasks, not to pick at a particular word, but, you know, is it also about what truly working from anywhere means? You know, for example, like if we're in a community in person, we're able to have certain intangibles associated with that. Does the modern workplace enable that more richness of the remote work community versus like what we might have done 15 years ago, remoting into a Citrix machine that's like at my desk, but not really working from home in the same capacity that I might work from home today?
And I like to use an example for this is in this past couple of weeks, we have several of our customers that have been vigilantly testing their VPN solutions. Concurrency, we don't have to have a VPN. We're operating against Office 365. Our data's in the cloud, our emails in the cloud, our security is in the cloud. All the applications are single sign-on enabled in the cloud. So we don't have that propensity for having that need to dial into a network or dial into an environment or be in a specific working situation where we have certain requirements that we have to meet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're a little bit fortunate in that space. You know, we don't have a lot of legacy applications that might have, early 2000s stuck, and the VPN is needed. So in those cases, you will see like a VPN has to have a place for some of the organizations that we do work with. But in VPN technology, maybe doing something with a little bit of a split tunnel. So like these voice and video calls that we're on, we can actually not have to go back to that home office where they could be flooded. If 100% of that workforce is remote, those pipes back to their home office where they're getting that data is going to be saturated.
That's a good point. Yeah, we've seen so many situations where like they're tunneling all this information back to the corporate environment as though it has to go through that in order for them to be secure. When in reality, the most secure environment, the most purposeful environment is to take it off the network, right? It's to treat it like a commodity device that's able to access the applications it needs in a secure way through something like conditional access, but not really beyond the network in a sense.
Absolutely.
And how about your phone, Brett? You have to pick up your desk phone and take that home with you?
Well, the only thing I gotta pick up from my desk now is my beer. Yeah, the idea behind breaking away from that desk in the corporate scenario is truly what it is to be mobile, whether it be your laptop or your mobile phone. As you know, like the Teams client on the mobile phone is night and day versus the Skype client, and it's just it unlocked way more collaboration than we've ever seen before.
Can you talk more about that collaboration angle? Like, how do we drive real community, real collaboration in a remote work environment? How does Teams maybe contribute to that, and how does it approximate in person?
Yeah, so step back, let's say 5 years ago, where Skype was hot and heavy. We loved the ability to kind of take it with us, but it only unlocked a portion of that. So we would do maybe a desktop screen share to kind of get people's thoughts on, maybe we're collaborating with what we're doing right now. We're trying to build maybe some stories for a project or something like that, where you have one person entering everything in. Unlocking that collaboration mode now allows us to do simultaneous edits, multiple people, being able to collaborate quicker, faster, without one person. Oh, wait, hold on, let me finish typing that up, then go to the next, right? You're getting multi-stream collaboration.
Like a true co-editing, co-experience of like that we would experience if we were in the same room together. You're getting that in a virtual sense without the like, well, would you check out the document so I can edit it and that kind of thing.
Yep. The whole old school thought of check in, check out. Yeah, unlocking that is it's been huge. And when you see more and more people go into this remote like we are now, it's going to be essential that it's there.
That's the biggest win with a lot of our customers that are making that move, even as a first step towards transitioning from SharePoint on-prem to SharePoint Online, is that rich co-editing experience, in looking at how we collaborated with that check-in, check-out mantra with, let me make a change, let me find this particular version of a file, 4 or 5 years ago to today. You look back and say, wow, we've definitely come a long way. The same thing goes for even just personal data storage with OneDrive, and with this community of our departments and our workforce by using Teams and collaborating in different channels. Just the richness of us being able to not only collaborate but do it more effectively and efficiently today is so much more than we could do 5 years ago, even less.
So I think, Nate, one of the big points there, right, is although it's enabling the user, it's also in a more secure environment, right? Gone are the days of email and files, send them over chat, and it's living on the user's device. They're working on them within Teams, within OneDrive, the environments that are governed, monitored by the company, that we can control the data, right? And there's other tool sets that allow us to do cool things with AIP and other technology out there that can protect the user from hurting the company's data.
Can you talk more about that? Talk about the ways in which using a modern work environment facilitates that security. Is it the conditional access? Is it the security around the applications itself? Is it CASB? Kind of help me navigate that environment.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all of it, right? So even going down to the conditional access side of it, I could be traveling and, it's used to me being on my home network. It uses Windows Hello. It knows that it's me. I'm not being prompted for passwords all day long anymore. If all of a sudden I head down the street to a Starbucks or I'm traveling and it's like, hey, this is not a usual location for you. I'm going to get that extra piece of authentication before you sign in. This is not your normal device. Somebody may have compromised your password, but that's not the end all be all anymore. There's a big difference within that. And then taking it all the way down to the files, right? So we're talking about AIP. There's ways, and with the integrated technology, especially with Office 365, if a social security number shows up, it can flag that and prevent you from sending it, right? It can prevent that from email. If we were screen sharing and I had a protected file open, I couldn't even show that file to you. It's going to black out my screen automatically and save me from being a user. I don't have to know any better. The system knows how to do it for me.
And
it feels like. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay. Oh, sorry about that. And on top of that, with Cloud App Security, it adds a lot of those security controls where, let's say it does see a document that needs to be secured. I can prevent a user from downloading that file. I can prevent it from being stored outside of my company network. And Cloud App Security gives me a really great way to control the flow of that data and where it lives.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I was thinking that, like, it feels like this opportunity of remote work accentuates how the mobility of the data itself is one of the key problems or opportunities, in a sense, in that, you know, not only are we securing the device and the identity of the person accessing the device, but we're also securing the content and the relationship between the content and the author and the people who should access the content. And, you know, that lack of interdependency between those components, but the protection circle that surrounds all of them is really powerful.
And that talks a lot about the zero trust story, right? With the zero trust story itself, it really takes in 3 different areas. It takes in the fact that we never trust, we always verify, we always assume every resource is open on the internet, and that our identity, our credentials is that control plane that we use to validate who we are and what we're doing and what we're accessing.
How does the end-to-end kill chain relate in that zero trust story? You know, if you consider the steps in that process where you can stop an intruder from, or mitigate them from moving further.
So in terms of looking at zero trust and those priorities, you know, really, as we look at that process, there's 3 things that we want to take a look at. We want to look at the aligning the segmentation strategy and the teams of our networks, our identities, our applications. We want to then look at building that identity-based perimeter to protect our modern and legacy enterprise assets. And then we want to refine our network perimeter by using things like micro-segmentation around those very secure parts of our network that we not only want to maybe in those cases have things beyond just single sign-on control, but have additional layers of authentication and additional means of access to get into those, like traditional VPNs.
Is that an area where, as you have that conversation, it's sort of counterintuitive to people? You know, I think we've been trained for so long that if you're on the network, like, you're secure, and maybe we're untraining people around that, and that we actually want people on different environments so they can't laterally move, and we want them to be in these zero trust environments where it's not like I'm on the network, therefore I trust you. Like, has that been a counterintuitive process for people, or do you feel like they knew that, but it's been difficult for them to navigate how to get there?
I think it's a new paradigm for a lot of environments where they think that inherently their corporate networks are trusted environments, and we have to take a step back where, while we might be a trusted individual, we also want to make sure we have a trusted device. And with the proliferation of BYOD, both on the computer side as well as the mobile device side, we have to take that into consideration, where we want to make sure that there are no risks for not only that user that's accessing our network, but also the device that's accessing our network. And then through things like conditional access, we make those decisions where we say, am I allowing you full access to these resources? Am I allowing you limited access to where I can kind of increase my assurance to different resources? Or am I in that scenario where I'm going to block access fully, and then I need to remediate either my user risk or my device risk before I can make access to those secured corporate resources?
That makes sense. So if we were to move back into the productivity space a little bit, you know, what are the challenges that companies have in adopting a work from home scenario? and how, when they move into a modern workplace, can we mitigate those challenges and enable them to be very productive?
Yeah, I think someone's being prepared for it, right? So a lot of times it's out there, IT is ready to support it, and then when they go to use it, they don't necessarily know how to use it, and they're calling your service desk. The service desk can get swamped. There's not enough people there to answer questions, and the users don't understand the full functionality to work remote, right? So Chris Blackburn eating pizza, for example, if we were sitting in the office and not on video, I couldn't see that and be laughing at it as we're having this. Yeah, I mean, one of the other ones too would be, and we got Brian on here as well, is the modern management Intune side of it, right? Like, even though I'm at home, you guys can manage my device. You know, it's safe. I can open it up. If there were updates, apps, you know, even if I don't hit the work network for weeks now, it's not a big deal.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So, you know, we were talking about security and the extent to which we're providing a sort of end-to-end environment that's much more secure. We're isolating the devices from each other. We're providing a modern way of accessing those resources. What about the management of those devices that are out in the field? You know, we've traditionally VPN'd in. We've used that VPN to be able to provide some kind of management. Well, what happens when I'm not VPNing in? Like, what does that modern environment look like from a management standpoint?
Well, from a management standpoint, tools like MEM, or previously known as Intune, you no longer need to be within your corporate net. We can manage your device, make sure you're compliant, and keep you compliant as long as you're on the public internet, which is definitely a paradigm change as well. It used to be you had to get into the corporate net in order to get managed. So that's definitely a huge win, and definitely people should be looking at that.
Well, and with the extended work from home periods, Nate, that we're looking at, that allows us to manage them for whatever period of time we need, right? We don't have to ask people to come to the office. We don't have to worry about that. We're secure no matter what for however long we need to be away.
Do you feel like it's a catalyst to cause them to shift the management style? You know, like, I mean, this is a point in time, right? And it's at some point it's going to pass, and we're going to be able to go back into our offices, and things will be kind of pseudo-normal again, and so on, right? But is this a point in time for them to really look at, like, is this the management style of devices that I really want to be doing, and gives them an opportunity to make that shift? And, you know, what are the things they should be doing now to be able to then take action on that?
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely a catalyst. Go for it, Brian.
Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a catalyst as you're looking at it. Like, this is the point in time. It may have people start to think about it, right? And yes, they are going to come back. They're going to come back to work. I don't think it's ever going to be the same again, though. A lot of companies are going to realize that people were affected. Work did not shut down. We're able to do our job from anywhere. And there's been a lot of companies that have hesitated with that to date. And this is really going to showcase that. And it does take some investment. It's not necessarily a huge investment. There's, you know, hybrid models in between that, you know, net new devices coming in, you can start there. You don't have to bite off the whole thing at once. And I mean, I can even speak from my own experience in the last week with the whole modern management scenario. When we were in the office, I needed a new PC. It was basically a terminal. I picked it up, and within 30 minutes, all my applications, everything was there. My OneDrive files, my desktop was there. And I was able to leave, show up to home, and I'm still good to go for the week. And, you know, with mobile workforces, we're a global economy, right? People don't go to the same office every day. And especially in our world of consulting, we're at different clients, different sites, different networks all the time. And I can sit out anywhere on a plane, anywhere, and I can have access to everything I need and do my job effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, I was even speaking to our management side of it. If I look at our internal IT, the cost to maintain all that is significantly lower, right? So we don't have people maintaining images, maintaining patches, and going through and doing a lot of the work that they used to be able to do. They're able to work on, you know, net new business applications to help us go out, sell more, do more, and do great things, as opposed to managing some of the core things they used to have to do.
Is that because you're shifting to like a commodity model more so, like almost the same way we're operating a cell phone or anything else?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, think about your cell phone. You're not out there worrying about, hey, I have to go buy a new device. You just pick it up and it has all your data on it. It's ready to go. They push updates to you, it's not as much about testing each application. It's not about, hey, a new app release comes out. I don't have to go through the whole thing. If you want to upgrade your operating system, no problem, it's out there. And for the user experience, it keeps them on the most up-to-date technology. There's a reason that user experiences change, right? It's to make it more effective. So holding that back and making it easier to get out there is only going to enable the businesses.
I think it's really about IT getting out of the way and allowing users to be as productive as they can be. They're really at the center of all of this, and that's why we're here. That's why we do what we do.
That's a huge point, Brian. Like the extent to which IT has been used to sort of being in the workflow, and maybe the movement of IT into governing it and providing policy, ensuring compliance and security, but not necessarily having to be in the workflow itself. The shift away from it being something that IT is providing to maybe something that IT is governing and ensuring is secure.
I think what's interesting though, as we're talking about it, we're really not any less secure, even though there's less hands in the pot, right? So as Chris was talking about, we're probably even more secure with less management. And the user experience is even greater than it was before that.
It's a huge point. So bouncing out of the security topic a little bit into the productivity arena, what are you seeing as ways that people are accentuating productivity and creativity within the work from home or remote work scenarios? Maybe one that comes to mind for me is like digital whiteboard or Power Apps types of creativity interaction. Like, what kinds of stories or examples have you seen there that have made a difference to engaging the remote workforce?
Yeah, one I wanted to hit on actually was the live meeting space within Teams has become, as your workforce may go to 100% work remote or work from home, the need for a large meeting space where maybe you have 500 users joining a single meeting, or maybe 5,000 users, 8,000 users, whatever that is, whatever that looks like, being able to use the feature they call live meetings within Teams to broadcast that out. So maybe you're doing a town hall across everybody, bringing them together and be like, hey, listen, we got another week of work remote, and here's the topics and here's the pieces. Scheduling that live meeting allows the efficiencies so we can have an effective, great video, great audio, those pieces that are really essential to a large meeting space. And I think, Chris, you've actually done quite a bit around this.
I have actually. I've done a couple of, did a user group session here in Minneapolis. I also worked with some of the Microsoft Technology Center staff to understand what some Microsoft best practices are, what techniques that people like Satya in Redmond at Microsoft there out in Washington, what they do for their monthly town halls and how they have a process and a workflow they use to produce those meetings, almost like a television show where they're and you have a production team, you have production quality equipment, you have times, and you have a schedule that you're adhering to. And granted, that's probably the high end of what's capable. Even from a small business environment, doing a live meeting, you have the ability to really control the flow of information within a meeting. You have the ability to control the ability of interactions where you have some specific people that are the ones that are your presenters, while in the background you have producers and you are presenting to your company. It's not like an ad hoc meeting like we might be having right here. It's more of, I'm a one-to-many presentation, but I'm still using the Teams client. I don't have to do anything different. I just have to schedule my meetings a little bit different way.
Yeah, Nate, I think from productivity too, even down to a team meeting. So the other day I was on the road. I'm in rural Wisconsin with very limited cell phone quality, but I'm able to dial in with the Teams client. If internet was poor, I was able to turn off video and still be effective in the meeting, right? But then at the same time, the integration of all the apps. So I was able to pull up Power BI on my phone, follow along with the meeting, and even share out my screen while on the road, right? So just because I don't have my device doesn't mean I can't be effective. And just because the quality goes down, or the cell phone quality may go down, I can still do exactly as I could at my desk to conduct that meeting.
That kind of leads me to a question around Teams, Tom, that you might be in a good position to answer, which is, I think we've seen a lot of companies with Teams just sort of turn it on, and they don't necessarily get the results that they're expecting because of the way that they deploy it to the environment or to the customers. What have you seen be successful there to be able to really get the penetration of the work experience that you're trying to achieve and the business impact that you're trying to achieve with the modern workforce, and especially with Teams usage versus what we've been seeing with some customers trying?
Yeah, so typically we'll pick up, either they haven't started at all because they're on Skype for Business, they're not used to the collab story. That's one way. One of the other popular entry points that we hit is, hey, I tried Teams, we piloted, it's just okay. Like, I'm not getting the most of it. I'm still stuck on Skype. I'm paying for WebEx. I also have any meeting, you name it, they have it. And then it's not only meetings, it's general collab. Hey, we're using Box, we're using Confluence, we're using Jira boards, we're using SharePoint, and then we have SharePoint Online. And there's a lot of confusion on, well, what is the standard, right? So it's taking that step back. What are the use cases? How should users be collaborating? So if we're doing project work this way today, how can teams make it better? And then how do we turn off the old way and make sure those users understand what's in it for me to move to the new system, right? If we continue to leave all the legacy ways out there, people are creatures of habit. They're just going to go back to it, right? So if you don't turn off the ability to go schedule your own WebEx meeting, they're going to continue to do that. So it's making sure you understand how the users are collaborating, how they're working, and then making sure that you train, communicate, and it's what's in it for me. If there's not a good story for them, it's very, very hard to get somebody to move.
Yeah, really catching their eye or audience, get them to want to move, right? Like everybody knows the story of how hard change can be.
Yeah, I mean, there have been some companies, Nate, that we've gone into, they have 14 different collaboration tools. Some of them did 5 of the pieces of collaboration, some did 4, some did 3, and then we mapped it up against a tool like Teams, and it's like, hey, did you know your licensing costs, your support costs, and the ability to support all of these goes way down if you move to one tool. Also, I've had one company tell me, no, we just gave users whatever they wanted because we wanted them to be happy. Well, we surveyed the users. They weren't happy because if I want to talk to Nate, I'm using one thing. If I want to talk to Brett, I'm using another thing. And if I want to share a file with Chris, I have to go to a completely different system. The user experience is so disjointed that it's actually a burden on the users. And there have been studies out there that a user probably loses about 6%, I think it was 6% of their year, and it equated to like 15 total days that they were just spent searching for documents and finding the right way to collaborate because there wasn't a clear strategy and a consolidated, environment to do that.
I feel like that statement is true not only for the collaboration environment, but also for the security environment. And that idea of does the tooling that you have work together? Does it enable an end-to-end story? Does it enable a person to start at one point and seamlessly journey to the other? Or in the security story, does it enable a mitigation to happen here and follow to the other? And I almost feel like at Concurrency, sometimes we forget how good we have it from a collaboration standpoint. Because I've sometimes engaged in some of the companies that we've just started to talk with, and I've seen they're just very diverse set of communication and collaboration tools. And it's like, how do you even live like this? It's just so disjointed from an experiential standpoint, and how you start a meeting, but then do this other thing, and then set up an IM, and then do a Word document. And it's so disjointed versus a real best in suite kind of way of addressing the world.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite questions I always ask is, hey, do you ever get sick of doing v.1, v.2 files? Did you know there's this whole live collab thing out there now? And people are like, oh my God, I wish I didn't have to merge files.
Yeah.
And that is still a thing, as much as we don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Plus, on the back end, you got to feel sorry for IT departments managing a stable of different tool sets, not only to support their end users, but to protect their end users. And that's one of the big stories that I've engaged with a lot of customers over the last year is how nice would it be to have one set of tools to not only monitor and protect your end users, but also allow them to be productive. And that's what the M365 does, that suite does in a nutshell.
Awesome. What about the kind of more complex custom app, custom integration, custom scenarios around teams, where you're tying in Power Platform, where you're creating a team that has a variety of different app scenarios in it? Can I speak to that? Why do that? Why does that bring more value to those teams? What's it doing? Tell me a little bit about your experiences there.
So one thing I would say is the word custom, right? We're moving away from as much custom as far as code development to low code, no code type things, right?
That's a huge point.
It's that much easier to integrate with other systems. It's that much easier to build out on top of the platform. You don't have to place a request, wait for a project approval, wait for all this funding to get something done. The tools are at your fingertips as a business user to build what you need, right? So out of box integrations to some of the data sets you already have with the common data service and common data models that are out there. The app store that's already within something like Teams that it's like, hey, we do have Jira. You can add that within your Teams and it's one platform that you can see everything. I mean, I've had some users tell me they don't even leave Teams without a day. They don't even go to their email anymore. They're just effective all in one tool set because it's canvas of everything that you work on.
Single pane of glass, right?
Exactly. And they're all integrated.
Even for the executive team at Concurrency, like we have a planner, we have a OneNote, we have our files, it's all in the same team. You go there, everything that we need to run the Concurrency as an executive team is in one spot. And the effort to spin it up was really light. Like we didn't have to do any heavy customization, and it's easy to onboard into that particular environment, and all the content relates to each other. I was surprised by how much it actually increased the productivity of our organization from an executive level.
Yep. And Nate, I thought you guys went out and hired a custom app dev person to do all that.
Haha. We actually moved off of a custom tool to move into it, which is really fascinating. It was a custom platform we were using, and we moved into Planner and Documents because of it actually served our use case a heck of a lot better and was easier to be able to work with.
Yep, the world of citizen development. Then that's
right.
Something to say with all of our conversations earlier about the integrated tool set and security. It's meant to protect the user, but enable them to build what they need to.
Exactly. So guys, last question. If you had a nugget of truth that's tied to the modernization of work, the movement toward the modern workplace, the ability to function within wherever you are, working in any space, what's that one thing you want to share with everybody who's watching today? Maybe start with Chris.
I think it allows you to be yourself. It allows you to break away from that corporate culture mentality, and it allows you to work at your own pace, because we're all unique individuals, and we all, even in a corporate environment, work at our own pace. But this, I think, allows us to be more of ourselves, be more relaxed, and I think allows us to be more efficient.
And puppies, right?
And puppies and dogs.
And pizza.
Puppies playing with toys that make noise.
That's right.
And then I couldn't stop laughing because Brett was laughing.
I'll go on this topic. I like this topic. Unlimited coffee. So as much coffee as I got stocked, I can drink it all. That's nice. Nobody's gotten into my coffee line here. But outside of that, I would probably have to go with, I'm a very narrow focused person. You get me on a set of tasks, being able to do my heads down work without that interruption, and unlimited coffee really allows me to produce some of the stuff that I need to get done in timely fashions, and that really helps me, just that narrow focus.
I think for me, it's no matter where I'm at, I'm no less productive than if I was at my desk, right? So having the ability to just reach out, contact who I need when I need them through the tool sets that we have is great. while at the same time having the flexibility if I need to go out and take care of something during the day. I'm not locked down to my desk. And if I need to go, for me, the other week I had to go get an oil change. You can sit, there's Wi-Fi there. I can be effective no matter where I'm at.
No boundaries anymore, right?
No boundaries.
Brian, what do you think?
I would echo what a lot of these guys are saying. It's a frictionless experience, and you can work at your own pace. And I feel like I'm more productive than I would be in an office with a lot of distractions. But
Come on!
This
Speaking of
one-
distractions, they just got hit in the head with a remote.
Give him the
you gotta
money.
leave that in the video. You gotta. Irony is awesome.
Oh man, Nate's got to go put somebody in detention.
It's no different than when I'm.
Nate.
All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you for taking the time. You guys are awesome. And thanks for joining us on Concurrency Beer 30.
Thanks, Nate.